All right, so our poem is Penelope to Ulysses, is the first one in the book. And pretty much it's about this woman, Penelope. She's writing to her husband, Ulysses, who is a warrior, or he's a soldier that's been fighting for a very long time. He's been gone for a very long time, and she's writing this letter to basically kind of tell him to come home from his very long absence. As the professor already said, it's been 20 years, 20 plus years. And the more so the events that she's writing to him is during the events of the Battle of Troy, when Troy falls. And she's really like detailing all the strife that she goes through in his absence. She's talking about how she's having like sometimes these very like fears and imaginations of him dying by Trojan warriors, and other times she's kind of saying how she's exhausted, or how she's just overall lonely. There's one passage that says, that she says, "I would not have lain here, cold in an empty bed, nor be left behind to complain at suffering long days." And that end part there, she's detailing how she was being just so exhausted. She has to be working these very, very long days for many, many years. Obviously, she's not with her husband anymore. Well, he's not with her, I should say. She talks about her anxiety and the fears a lot. That played a really big part, and it was kind of like eating her up inside. And to the point that even when she would hear Hector, the Prince of Troy, yeah, when she would hear his name, she would get very pale and sick and just kind of just fear that name in a sense, because she would hear that name and think, okay, well that means my husband could possibly die because Hector's such a badass. So for that like small part there, I feel like Ovid was really explaining how women were kind of forgotten about during these times. Like they weren't really cared for. Nobody really cared to check in on how they were. Like even in the United States, if a man is deployed, the military, that branch of the military goes and checks up on that man's family to see how they are. In these ancient times, they didn't do that. Nobody cared to do that. So she also mentions that how she doesn't really care about the fall of Troy. Like she doesn't really care what happens to it, because at the end of the day, she still doesn't have her man regardless. So whether Troy stands or Troy falls, he's not with her. So it's not really like she really doesn't care. So she's also starting to she starts praying a lot for him to come home and for him to be safe, but she starts getting angry with her thoughtless prayers because nothing's coming out of it. He's still not home after such a very long time, and she's getting pretty much fed up with it. In his absence, people will come and kind of take things from their home and ransack their place and tear things up, and she's like really begging him in the letter to please come home and protect your family and protect us, protect me, protect your son. Your son needs somebody to protect him and to be a guardian. And for me, that also kind of felt that Ovid was writing from a point of view that women didn't have any power, and I don't mean just physical, but I meant like even vocal. Like now women can say something and people listen, but back then a woman would say something, nobody would really care. Oh, don't touch my stuff, but we don't care, you're just a woman, we're gonna take it anyway. That's more or less it. She really just keeps detailing that, and it kind of ends with her saying how when he left, she was just a girl, and that now she's like this aged woman. And again, it's because he was gone for 20 years. So I don't know how old she was when they got married, but let's say if she was young now, she'd be like maybe 30s, maybe 40s, pushing older age.
Does Ovid retell the myths accurately according to your constructive narrative, or does he distort it? I think he distorts it a little bit, because from the original, Penelope was just like a side note in that whole thing there, in the original story. But now he actually speaks from her point of view and actually makes her the center of the story, which is something different. I just feel like it's his way. What my partner said here, it's his way of basically giving women a voice during war, because women are ignored and children are overlooked, and you know, they actually get to show them in the stick during war. So, you know, he's just trying to give you that perspective. Does Ovid appear genuinely sympathetic specifically to women's point of view at times? Is he a feminist writer? I don't think he's a feminist writer. I just think that he, the way how Penelope is portrayed, or her icon is displayed, is that she's a woman who basically keeps her marital vows, she does everything right, she stays in the traditional order of things, and I think he's kind of like, as long as women stay in this order of things, there'll be some kind of harmony. You know, like, he's not really giving them a voice, but hey, look, stay there, and everything will be okay between the sexes. And the other question is that the only question? Okay, a long tradition existed then and now of low poison, always one of its yeah, I mean, I think it resembles the typical love letter. I mean, somebody longing for somebody or desiring somebody, and they can't have them for whatever reason, because of the gods or death or tragedy or something like that, which is basically most of the poems we've been reading. I mean, even the gods played a role in this. Poseidon and Athena were big in this, you know, so that's pretty much it. I don't know. Thank you.